Moving on to desserts. I like ice cream. A lot of people like ice cream. How many people like ice cream? Well, almost everybody. Now, the recipe for the vanilla ice cream and the chocolate ice cream is the same, right? You just add cocoa powder, except for the fact that when you're adding the chocolate ice cream, you should add a couple of dates. I usually add 1 medjool date per serving because the cocoa powder has no sweetener in it and it makes it more bitter, so it's not sweet enough with just a plain banana. With the vanilla ice cream, or the vanilla ice cream, you don't need a date. It's sweet enough just with the macadamia nut and the 2 bananas and the tablespoon of dried vanilla bean powder. And the secret ingredient that's available on the internet nowadays is ground up vanilla bean. Instead of this alcohol and foul-smelling vanilla extract and this chemical stuff you put that's supposed to be like fake vanilla, you actually use real, healthy, organic vanilla bean that's ground into a fine powder that you can buy in these jars on the internet. And it's incredibly delicious. So you just take a teaspoon of this ground up organic vanilla bean in the blender with some frozen bananas, a little bit of soy milk, and you have the greatest, and you put walnuts in or macadamia nuts to make it creamy, and you have the most delicious vanilla ice cream. And I don't put any date in that. It's sweet enough. But if I want to make a chocolate ice cream, and I put the cocoa powder in, then I'll put it 1 date per serving. Did you follow that? To make it a little sweeter, to balance the flavor of the cocoa powder. I don't want my vanilla ice cream that sweet because I want to taste the vanilla flavoring. And also my taste buds got accustomed to things being less sweet. I can taste the flavor better. You can use any kind of frozen fruit you have in your freezer. And you could sweeten it with a little bit of dried fruit if you wanted to. Like a date, but here you can sweeten it with a dried apricot or with a piece of dried mango, right? And you could put a little liquid in it, like a little coconut milk or a little bit of what I use a liquid is just I use a little bit of soy milk or a little bit of hemp milk in there. But you can also just put water and some nuts in there. If I'm making a fudgesicle pop, let's say I made the frozen banana ice cream, I whipped it up fresh, and we're eating it when it's rightly fresh and blended up like soft Carvel ice cream, right? It's like coming out, and you could scoop it on like an apple pie a la mode by making like the, like my apple, what's it called? Like the, apple surprise. Like, it's just like stewed apples and raisins with some flax seeds and walnuts and a little bit of currants or raisins and some cinnamon and nutmeg. So just some stewed apples and raisins with nutmeg and just put a piece of, tastes like apple pie with no crust, right? The apple surprise with no crust with some ice cream on top, right? Or I can make fudgesicle pops and I could take it and put it into a fudgesicle pop so you have a hard pop. But if you don't put a little nut or seed in there, you don't need much nut or seed if you eat it fresh because it's soft and creamy. It's not really frozen. But if you put it back in the freezer and freeze it hard, you have to put more nut and seed. So put more cashews or more walnuts or more macadamia nuts in the recipe. So making a fudgesicle pop, it'll be more nuts in it with nuts and the date and the cocoa powder and the banana. And then I'll put it in Tupperware. And when you take it out of the Tupperware, you get a fudgesicle pop that looks hard. But when you bite into it, it's chewy and soft because the nut or seed prevents it from getting hard like a rock. Like a real fudge. Cold fudgesicle pop for your kids. So here's a strawberry pineapple sorbet, and a lot of children right here in Flemington, my daughters who are now in their 20s, had their friends when they were little kids testing these things out in our kitchens. They'd come over to the house and they would say, what do you like better? Do you like the cherry chocolate, or do you like the banana date? And you know what they like the best? They like these strawberry lemon pineapple the best because they like that sweet and sour. The combination between this pineapple and the strawberry with a little lemon in there, right? And we put sometimes put some of the navel, the organic skin of the navel in there, or lemon skin in there too, to make with that zest, that little lemon zest flavoring in there. And it's not that sweet. People like this ice cream, even though it wasn't that sweet. They like the flavor of it, to make a strawberry pineapple sorbet. And here's a mango that people love, that has the coconut and use the shredded, in place of the nut, you put the shredded coconut in, which gives that creamy mouthfeel like a real ice cream instead of a sorbet. So you mix the frozen mango, and the frozen mango you buy is so incredibly delicious. When you buy a mango fresh, sometimes it's really great and sometimes it's not, because maybe you don't know how to pick out the perfect mango or know the varieties that are really most flavorful. When you have the frozen mango, it's always a really good tasting variety of frozen mango. You mix it with a little piece of dried mango that you soaked for a few hours or soaked for 1 hour in soy milk. Put the soy milk and the soaking mango, the dried mango, like 1 slice per person with a box of fresh mango and a little bit, and the coconut, shredded coconut, a little squeeze of lemon. This is the most delicious thing you ever tasted. And you put the vanilla ice cream on some apple surprise, which we talked about, has the flax seeds and the walnuts in it, which is like a good breakfast. You can make it really fast. Put in a pot just a little bit of raisins of currant, just enough water to just gently cover them on the top, and then cover the pot. Let it start cooking, just softening the raisins with the water while you're chopping up the apple. Get the apple chopped up and get the core removed. Leave the skin on. Put it on top of the raisin and put the cover on that, and then chop up the walnuts and get that ready, and put it on top and throw your flax in, start mixing it, put the cinnamon and nutmeg in there. And by the time you mix the other things in, it's all done. The apples are just slightly cooked, they're just made a little soft. They still maintain a little crunchiness and not too mushy. And you have the raisins just softened, and you have a delicious breakfast or a delicious dessert. And one of our very popular desserts is our brownies and cakes, which are made with beans. And you know beans are low glycemic, and you can make this not that sweet. And you bake it on a low heat, like 250 degrees, just so the outside gets a little bit crispy and a little hardened. And but the beans are already pre-cooked, so it doesn't really have to get that thoroughly cooked, but make it so the outside hardens a bit. You have a delicious fudgy black bean brownie, and if you want to, you can throw on to have a chocolate icing right on top, made with dates and avocado. You don't have to use sugar, you don't have to use maple syrup, and you don't have to use honey. We can make delicious tasting sweets and treats, but you want to make them so they're not as sweet as conventional desserts. Don't forget, your tastes are getting stronger. We want you to accommodate your flavor, so you don't need to load up the desserts with a huge amount of dates. If I'm making a homemade hemp milk, I'm making a hemp and almond milk with some water, 6 cups of water, 1 cup of almonds and hemp, with 1 medjool date and a little bit of vanilla. That's all you need. For 6 cups of fluid, 1 date. Make a delicious homemade hemp or almond milk. It tastes great. So we don't want to make things super sweet, and you can enjoy your desserts more because you're eating a liberal portion of it. You don't have to eat like a thimble-sized portion knowing it's bad for you. You can eat a bigger portion knowing it's good for you. It's not that sweetened. And you can make a pie crust and throw any kind of fruit in there. And the pie crust with oats or pecans we use, or raw almonds, and rolled oats or shredded coconut. So pecans or almonds, walnuts, shredded coconut, mixed with oats, with a little bit of medjool dates, so the dates rolled in coconut can be pressed into it. You can buy in the health food store. You make a great pie crust, any kind of fruit on top, and you pretty much now know how to make great desserts. Before we leave, I want to mention agar-agar, which is a seaweed that makes delicious puddings and gels, and here's a delicious chocolate flan that's made very light. You can put a lot of water into it. You can use the water or the almond milk or the soy milk to dilute the nuts. So you can put just a little bit, if there's only a 3/4 of a cup of nut mixed with a couple of tablespoons of agar-agar. So you took a little pan of the water or the soy milk. You put the flame on to warm it up, not to boiling, so it's just getting hot. You put the agar-agar in there and stir it to dissolve in there. As soon as it starts, and you can shut the flame off before you get it in boiled to get the agar to dissolve in there, because when the agar cools, it's going to harden like Jell-O. So I have this Jell-O water soy milk consistency now. I can blend into it some nuts and some dates and some flavorings, the cocoa powder to make it chocolate, and you come out with like a chocolate pudding with a very light, airy flavor that tastes delicious. Really an incredibly delicious gourmet dessert, to not to have those desserts that are so more decadent.